longer than 7 minutes is the entire story, because otherwise you might get bored. Not yet fall asleep, but because early in the morning. And that's exactly where I've started now at 10:45 till 10:50. All right. When we talk about Masada, we talk about two different periods of time. Now I turn the radio. Two different periods of time. The first one is Herodian, and the second would be under the umbrella, under the logo Zealots, Z-E-A. For the Herods acted the king in Jerusalem between 37 to 4 minus 1st century BC. 1st century BC, and as I told you in Caesarea, he was, maybe I didn't use this term, he was a paranoid. Really paranoid. But as many dictators and many, even modern dictatorship, they never stayed 2 consecutive nights in the same place. He did 1 in Caesarea, 2 in Jericho, 2 on top of Masada, 2 in Jerusalem, and 1 in Caesarea as palaces. On top of that, another 15 strongholds, move from place to place. In that token, we're talking about the time where he prepared this place just for the royal family, not more than that. When he died at 4 minus, the Romans, his supporters, left here a garrison. The very short right after, some fanatic Jewish groups from Jerusalem killed them and cleared the area to be prepared for a long siege. And the long siege started very near or very close after the fall of Jerusalem. Jerusalem fell in the summer of 70. There is a special Jewish mourning day for the destruction of the first and the second temple that in the Jewish calendar been destroyed at the same day, the 9th of the month of AV. This is the 11th month, and the special mourning days for that. In the summer, when the city been destroyed, most of the fanatic people, Sikar is dagger, like
sword, short sword,
like a swift sword, I would say, yeah, short sword, yeah. They were using it by poisoning the point and stand next to a Roman and stab it from the side, not just cut to pieces. That was the system. They came, including 300 people from Qumran. Altogether were in the peak time 967 people, men, women and children, prepared themselves for a long siege. And the Romans, after they took over the Galilee and Jerusalem, how come we know the Galilee? Because one of the members of the Jewish commanders in the Galilee was the guy Josephus Flavius, that I keep saying it because from his books we learn a lot about the history. He was an eyewitness and pretty much accurate. Pretty much, because for years we were thinking that he is exaggerating, especially with this, an episode of the story of Masada, that we found evidence for what he told us about the lots that they drew, the last defenders. So the zealots here came altogether 967 men, women, and children prepared themselves for a long siege. How come we know the preparation? Because they have huge storage blocks, which we are going to see later, as well as catapult stones, going back now. Some of them original still there, and water. About the water, there were 2 sections of the story. One, at the Herod's time, there was not a problem. It was an aqueduct. He catch the water in a higher place behind the others, the western slopes, very much like the aqueduct I show you in Caesarea. And by gravity, leads the water to water cisterns. That from there, the story, the women draw the water up. But this was the first institution that the Roman cut off, the water system. Afterwards, they needed just to pray for rain. And as I told you, annually rainfall here 2 inches. And that's, you see huge cisterns here all over the place. The problem started when the siege began. They used only Roman soldiers. Then we know for sure who was here. Legion number 8. Then they call Legion 10. Legion 10 Pretenses. We found stamps. We found ceramic, what they call bula, which is like a seal, S-E-A, of the Roman Pretenses Legion 10. And each Roman legion, 5,000 soldiers. Here, less than 1,000 people. So 10,000 soldiers. And then they started to build the ramp. The ramp was built in the western slopes. The ramp, in order to reach depth, as art is now going up, it was very easy to defend. You throw boiling oil from above, or you roll the boulders, you stop the people. So they started to build a ramp, but the easy way out to climb from the western slope, and we are going to show you what left over from this ramp. When the ramp was almost halfway, they came with a brilliant idea, I'm talking about the Romans, to bring 5,000 Jewish slaves from Jerusalem. When the people up here heard the language of the people, the builders, they stopped shoot. They stopped shooting because they refused to shoot toward their own brothers. So that's how the ramp reached the summit. When they reached the summit, the commander, Elazar ben Yair, gathered them. We don't know the right location, but maybe the synagogue that we're going to see as well. And he asked the permit, so-called, to commit suicide. In a nutshell, he said, let us keep the storage and the water to show the Romans, not because of shortage of this, we did what we did. Just because we didn't want to become slaves of the Romans, and our wives and children will be sexually abused by the Romans. The last oration is in the brochure that I will hand to you on the way down in the bus, okay? So now I like one volunteer to read it for us.
Sure.
Because you're standing, that's
And she has a good voice.
good voice.
I don't have my glasses though. I'll see what I can do.
Okay, it's not, it's doable. That's only 2 paragraphs. Yeah. This 1 and 2.
Okay.
Maybe without
Excerpt.
sunglasses would be better.
Nope. It says excerpts from Elazar.
Elazar, that's his name, doesn't
Okay.
it? Yeah. Ben Yair.
Ben Yair's speech. Since we long ago, my generous friends, resolved never to be servants to the Romans, nor to any other than to God himself, who alone is the true and just Lord of mankind, the time has now come that obliges us to make that resolution true in practice. And let us not at this time bring a reproach upon ourselves for self-contradiction. While we formerly would not undergo slavery, though it were then without danger, but must now, together with slavery, choose such punishments also as an intolerable, I mean this, upon the supposition that the Romans once reduced us under their power while we are alive. We were the very first that revolted from them, and we are the last that fight against them. And I cannot but esteem as it a favor that God hath granted us, that it is still in our power to die bravely, and in a state of freedom, which hath not been the case of others, who were conquered unexpectedly. It is very plain that we shall be taken within a day's time, but it is still an eligible thing to die after a glorious manner, together with our dearest friends. Let our wives die before they are abused, and our children before they have tasted slavery. And after we have slain them, let us bestow that glorious benefit upon one another mutually, and preserve ourselves in freedom, as an excellent funeral monument for us. But first, let us destroy our money and the fortress by fire, for I am well assured that this will be a bitter blow to the Romans. that they shall not be able to seize upon our bodies, and shall fail to our wealth also. And let us spare nothing but our provisions, for they will be a testimonial when we are dead that we are not subdued for want of necessities, but that according to our original resolution, we have preferred death before slavery. Wow.
Yeah, that's very, very strong, very powerful. It reminds, in a way, you know, in American history, the battle in Alamo. At the end of it, in spite of the fact that actually they died, they all died, except for 2 women and 3 children. They were survivors of this massacre. What I said before about the lottery, we found a spot here that Josephus Flavius kept talking about it, that the last 10 men, after they killed the families, they had to decide who will be the last one. So they drew lots. They wrote the names of piece of pottery. And we were thinking for centuries that he is exaggerating. It's not just such a story till we found the actual spot. And I'll show you where the lots were found. Another thing is the symbol of heroism, although it's kind of, you know, a debate if, you know, committing suicide or slaughtering of your own family, it's a heroism. But if you remember the story of Romeo and Julia, they also, it's a love story. The world is, remember, it's as a love story, but this was also about committing suicide. In the Israeli army, on this plateau where you see the boulders over there, there is a special ceremony of inauguration. It's been held here and by the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, Western Wall, which we are going to see tomorrow. In both places, over there, the soldiers, after they get the Bible and the rifle in that order, they all yell together, "I swear." I mean, I swear my loyalty for the country and so on. That's inauguration. Here, they shouting 3 more times, "Masada shall not fall again." So that just conclude the story, you know, and the continuity. Please remind me, I will hand out the brochures